Well, good morning to all of you. In the last two classes, we have tried to understand about the biogeographical reams, where we have completed four important reams, in which we try to understand the geographical area of those reams, climatic factors, and the fauna of that region. Two more are left here for the discussion. One is the Australian rim, and the second one is the Oriental rim. Now, today we can begin with the Australian rim. It is also earlier called as Australasia. It's a very unique ecological zone because it consists of mostly the islands like Australia, New Zealand, New Guinea, and other small islands which are very close to Australia. Australia is the bigger country, so that's why this entire region is known as Australian region. Uh, Actually, this region has lot of similarities with the Oriental rim. Uh, this region once it used to sit upon the Indo-Australian tectonic plate, and now variety of unique human and ecological features are found here. Even ecological zone around the world are also seen in this region. Earlier, or I should say that there is a little bit controversy here. Australasia or Australian rim, some say that it's a part of Oceania, a bigger region. But Slater has said that Australia is a separate rim, so that's why we have studying the Australia as a separate rim. And uh, this Australian zone is different from other zone because of three factors. One is geography, ecology, and even humanity is also different here. Basically, all these main island Australia and others are formed because of the tectonic plate movement. Australia, New Guinea, Tasmania, they are all characterized by the marsupials, monotreme mammals, and ratitae, that the flightless birds are common. Another unique tree which you can see in all these Australian rim is the eucalyptus tree that is found scattered across Australia and New Guinea. Uh, while the New Zealand has some now extinct bird species common with the rest of the Australasian zone. But what is the uniqueness here is the presence of some marsupials, monotremes, and flightless birds, and the eucalyptus trees. So, the climate in this Australian rim, uh, usually the Australia is relatively flat land with low elevations, and dry interior. Whereas another country, that is the New Zealand, has high mountains and receives adequate rainfall. A part of Australia falls in the tropical region also, in the north of the country. In this region, north of the country, including the equatorial and subtropical zone, one can see high temperature and high humidity. Not only that, dry and wet seasons are very distinct here. In Australasian tropic, the wet season called monsoon season, like what we get now, lasts for 6 months between November to March. The monsoon season in Australia lasts from between November to March. So that's why both hot and temperate climates exist in this region. Average annual rainfall is about 75 millimeter. You can see rainforests, grasslands, eucalyptus forests are the prominent ecological conditions of this region. Then coming to the fauna, mammals, actually there are 9 families of marsupials, that is the poached mammals like kangaroos and other ones, out of which 8 are unique. And there are 52 genera and 6 families of marsupials are found here, and those marsupials are not found in the neotropical region. In neotropical region also we have seen some marsupials, but the marsupial richness is very high in the Australian region. The uniqueness of the marsupials of Australia. The marsupials in other parts of the world, they show some parallelism with the placental mammals and in their evolutionary modification also. But it is not so in case of the Australia, where marsupials still strictly remain as marsupials. Then actually the placental mammals were introduced by man, or some of them might have migrated themselves. Originally the Australia rim was not having any marsupials. Most of the other mammals, the Australia was having only marsupials, and rest of the mammals were introduced either by human or by some other cause. Especially the rodents, bats, rabbits, foxes, rats, mice, dingo, dogs, cats, pigs, other mice, all of them are introduced by the human being. But here monotremes were presented. Monotremes, the egg-laying mammals like echidna and ornithorhynchus are unique. Then if you talk about the birds, there are 58 families of birds. Out of 58, 44 are widely distributed. Found in other regions also, like dragons, hawks, kingfisher, cuckoos, parrots and pigeons. They are not limited to only to the Australian rim. Most of the bird species Australia share with the Oriental. For example, frogmoths, wood swallows, flower peckers, megapods, they are common in both Australia as well as in the Oriental region. But what's important is 10 families of endemic birds. Cassowary, emu, kiwi, lyrebird, bowerbird, honeysucker, bird of paradise, megapods and kookaburra or lashing jackals, jackass. See, out of the birds you can see emu, kiwi, they are all ratitae, belong to the order ratitae, that is the flightless birds. So the flightless birds are also very unique to this Australian list. But pheasant, finches, barbets and woodpeckers are not seen here. If you look into the reptiles, there are python, biting snakes, elipid coral snakes, geckos, skinks, agamid lizard, scale-footed lizard, komodo dragon. This is another very interesting thing. The largest reptile ever seen. Bigger crocodiles and turtles. Komodo dragon is the largest lizard, I should say. Jellied turtles, snake-necked turtles, even spinodon is exclusively found in this one, that is also confined to New Zealand. When you look into amphibian, there is no tailed amphibia. Amphibia with tail, that is the Urodela members are not here. Common toads are also absent, even the frogs are few in number. But you can see tree frog belonging to family Hylidae. This is found belong to both Oriental, New World and Palearctic. But this Hylidae is absent in African and Oriental region. Where the very interesting thing, one very interesting frog, that the green frog, Australian green frog, that secret mosquito repellent compound from the skin gland. Secret some mosquito repellent compound. The Australian frogs, Rheobatrachus salus and Rheobatrachus vitalinus, they carry their tadpoles on their stomach, in their stomach. Even there are certain frogs adapted to live in desert, because we don't see amphibians in desert because of the lack of moisture. But there are many few frogs which are adapted to live in desert, like Neobatrachus, Notadine and all. Coming to the fishes, freshwater fishes are rare and they belong to family Osteoglossidae. Lungfish, Neoceratodus, is found to some rivers like Burnett and Mary rivers of Queensland. The freshwater fauna is very poor here. Not only even amphibians and reptiles are also compared to other reams it is less. But there is some uniqueness in mammals which you have seen that either egg-laying mammals or marsupials. And most of the animals show affinities with Oriental and South American fauna near tropical. This Australia has placental mammals are very rare. Basically, only two orders: the bats, Chiroptera, where you can see 6 families, and mice and rats, order Rodentia. About this, there are 2-3 different views. Some say that basically Australian rim was not having any placental mammals and all these are introduced. But some biogeographers say that these two orders, that the bats and rats and mice, are originally from Australia, not introduced one till now. That problem has not been solved. So bats and rodents, everybody says that it is the most recent arrival to Australia. Probably bats must have come from Asia, and the fossil records are available as recently as 15 million years. 7% of world's bat species live in Australia. Rodents must have, that's the rats and mice, rodents must have arrived to Australia 5 to 100 million years back, and now spread all over the Australasian region. Old endemics. Probably in today's newspaper also you must have read. Australia is facing the problem of rodents, so that's why it's importing this rodenticides from India. In today's newspaper I read it, probably if you, that is the rodents have increased. They are all new endemics. But after the human settlement, many placental mammals have been introduced to Australia. Though they are introduced, now they are feral. What do you mean by introduced and feral? Feral animals. Feral animals are those animals which are domesticated once. Then they were left free in the forest. Such animals are known as feral animals. For example, even if you go to Andaman and Nicobar Island, where you can see lot of feral elephants. Actually, Andaman Nicobar Islands were not having elephants. They were taken from the mainland India for forestry work during the British period. But afterwards, the contractors thought that it is a costly affair to bring them back to the mainland. They left the uh, elephants there in the forest. So those are called as feral animals or feral elephants. So in Australia also same thing happened. Many animals went with the human beings and afterwards human beings left them in the forest. The first is dingo, one such one. Something dingo was brought to Australia about 5,000 years ago. When Europeans settled in Australia, they intentionally released many species into wild, including the red fox, brown hare, European rabbit, and there are some domestic species also escaped. Over the time, they produced the wild population, including cat, fallow deer, rusa deer, cheetal, domestic horse, donkey, pig, domestic goat, water buffalo. Probably only three species which are non-indigenous placental mammals. Australia's non were not deliberately introduced. Were not house mice, black rat, and brown rat. Actually, it was they were not released. They were accidentally, not deliberate. Now, the last ream that we have to discuss is the Oriental ream. Probably this is the Australian ream. The Oriental ream, which you can see here, this is the Oriental ream. To me and for all of us, the Oriental ream is more important than the other biogeographical reams for the simple fact that we also come under the Oriental ream. India is coming under the Oriental ream. So that's why let's spend little more time in this Oriental. This region includes Indian subcontinent, Ceylon, Burma, Philippines, even Formosa and Cathay China part. From the north of this region, Himalaya, from the Himalayan region up to Himalayan region. On the west, the Arabian Sea is present. In the southeast corner, physical boundary is absent. Actually, the Oriental region is divided into four sub-regions, and mostly the Oriental region shows the tropical, and small part of that also shows temperate zones. In the Northeast Asia, you can see rainforest, and west you can see the desert. The remaining parts show plains and rivers. So if you look into it, it shows variety of conditions. Hence, more vegetation is present, more fauna is present. As I have told you, this Oriental ream is divided into four sub-regions: Indian sub-region, Ceylon sub-region, Indo-China sub-region, and Indo-Malayan sub-region. Of course, we are not going to the details of each of the sub-regions. What are the characters of this Oriental region? One thing, the fauna of Oriental region resembles with Ethiopian, that the African region. African region. Actually, some Jew geographists, they do not divide uh, African or Ethiopian region and Oriental region separately. They club together. They put Ethiopian and Oriental region in paleotrop and call it as paleotropical region. Yeah, I hope you can catch what I am trying to say, the fauna of this oriental region shows lot of resemblance with the Ethiopian region. So, because for this many Jew geographers have made an attempt to club this Oriental region and African or Ethiopian region and call it as Paleotropical region. But however, here we are following the Slatter's classification. What are the characteristics? So, these reefs are provided with very rich flora and fauna and lot of biodiversity. Hotspots are also found in this region. Even if you look into the physical features, ಹಲೋ ನಿಮ್ಮಲ್ಲಿ ಯಾರೋ ಒಬ್ಬರು ಮೈಕ್ರೋಫೋನ್ ಆನ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದಾರೆ, ಪ್ಲೀಸ್ ಚೆಕ್ ಮಾಡಿ. ದರ್ ಇಸ್ ಸಮ್ ಡಿಸ್ಟರ್ಬೆನ್ಸ್ ಐ ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಹಿಯರ್. If unknowingly if you have switched on the microphone, please switch it off. Now it's okay. Uh, the Oriental region is known for its diversity of physical features. As I have told you, the northern part of India is temperate. Eastern part, including Burma, Indonesia and Northeast Asia, we have rainforests. Western peninsula part is desert, and southern portion has again some tropical forests. Even if you look into Sri Lanka, Indochina and Malaysia, that region also contains thick forest. The Himalayan mountain, if you move the western side of the Himalayan mountain, it is more drier and less hospitable. Because of the variation in the vegetation, the climate of the Oriental region also varies. If you come to the southern part of the Oriental region, temperature is almost constant all year round. In northern part there is a great fluctuation, where the fluctuation may be 10 to 20 degrees Celsius, especially rising in the spring and summer up to 30 in western and eastern western parts. But another interesting thing is the cool session is accompanied by drought. The hot season is moist. In the southern part, the dry season may get rains on the mountains. So generally, if you speak, the climate is generally moist, tropical rain deserts in the south. Even the northern parts contain many grassy plains with scattered trees or bushes, what we call savanna. Then coming to the fauna, the mammals. The greater part of this oriental region is tropical. Only northwestern is dry and partly desert. As a result of that, animal life is concentrated in this tropical region. Monkeys are very common. Apes are found in tropical rainforest. The gibbons are found in Assam. And orangutans are restricted to islands, and they are facing the danger of extinction also. Probably all of you know that the Asiatic lions are now confined to Oriental Rim. It's only to a small pack that the Gir National Park of the Kaitawar Peninsula in Gujarat state of India, where there is protected. A few specimens may occur in the southeastern Iran also. Another large carnivore, the tigers are now found from the Himalayas to Sumatra. Once the range was much wider, but now they are restricted to Himalayan region to Sumatra. Whereas leopards range throughout the region except Sumatra. In Sumatra there is no leopard. Civets and mongooses are numerous. A badger like ratter lives in the hilly district of southern India. Jackals ಏನು ನರಿ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಿರ್ತೀವಿ are plentiful in India. Whereas the striped hyena is confined to drier parts. But both the jackals and hyena are absent from the east. Both the normal squirrels as well as the flying squirrels are common in woodlands. Guars, kadkona, are found in India and Myanmar. Malayan wild fox oxen is also distributed in Myanmar and south to Borneo, Java, but not seen in Sumatra. So, if you summarize them, Oriental fauna has around 50 mammal families. Most important one are the Malay tapir, Indian tiger, water buffalo, Indian elephant, red panda. King cobra is not coming under the mammal, but it's also very unique. Even the most common antelope is the black buck, found in open bush-covered wild areas and cultivated plains also. Nilgai or bluebill, four-horned antelope, chausinga. Even there are many species of deer, including musk deer, in the pine zones of Kashmir region and Nepal, and in one Indian state, that's in Manipur, Sikkim, sambar deer practically over the whole region. Even the muntjac or barking deer, ranging from northward into southernmost region, you can see them. Chavarotins, small hornless deer-like mammals. Even wild pigs are also widely distributed. Indian one-horned rhinoceros are confined to Nepal and Assam. Even Sumatran two-horned rhinoceros, southern Sumatra. Even one-horned Javan rhinoceros, population only few dozen you can see. Malayan tapirs in the dense forest of southern Myanmar, Malaysia and Sumatra. Indian elephants are found throughout the region. Scaly anteaters or pangolin, which are also found in Africa, are very characteristic feature. Then the tropical breed of cattle, Bos indicus, which is popularly known as Brahman or Jebu, which is recognized by shoulder hump. The Indian cattle you must have seen, there's a shoulder hump, very prominent hump, for domesticated in India, uh, which is now distributed from uh, e- even up to central China. Most common antelope is the blackbird in almost all uh, parts of the bush covered forest you can expect. Then birds. Indian peacock can be seen throughout India. There's also one more cousin to our peacock. This is known as the pavo muticus. Is seen in Java. Lot of pheasants live in the forests of Myanmar, Thailand, peninsular Southwest Asia, Malaysia, Sumatra, and Borneo. Jungle fowls, which are considered as the ancestor for all domesticated fowls. These jungle fowls are unique to Oriental region. Present day, all domesticated chickens have descended from them. Even pigeons also occur in great variety. But one interesting thing is the number of parrot species are very small compared to the number of parrot species that you see in other uh, tropical regions. Water and wood kingfishers, there are many species. The hornbill show the highest degree of development in the Oriental region. Indian hoopay, which is very common in India, but migratory bird in the southeastern part of the region. Among the cuckoo, the brain fever bird, which is an Asian hawk, it cries repeatedly, so that's why it is known as brain fever. Eagle, ospreys, falcons, hawks, kites, buzzards, all of them are found in this Oriental region. In the western part, the vultures were numerous and found even in towns also once. If you go to the forest, there are many species of woodpeckers. Barbets. Barbets, they produce loud voice. For example, coppersmith bird. The sound appears like how the when the coppersmith does his work, the sound comes from the same type of sound even this coppersmith bird makes. Bee eaters and rollers are common in India. But rollers are found in Malayan archipelago also and beyond. Rollers are absent in southeastern. There are many birds which are belonging to family Passeriformes. They are the passerine birds. House crow, Indian grackle, and common myna are very common birds. Drongos, flycatchers, bulbuls, tailor birds, orioles, many other birds are widely distributed. Among herons, the white cattle egret is common throughout this one. Wherever you go, you can see that cattle egret. Whereas spoonbills, cranes, gulls, they are mostly confined to the western part. Then talking about the reptiles and mammals, sorry, amphibians. Of the crocodile, the gavial, which is a long, slender, it has a very long and slender jaw and soft, inflatable nose flip tip, is found only in the bigger rivers of northern India. A species belonging to the same genus is found in Sumatra and Borneo. The mugger, the freshwater crocodile, and estuarine crocodile have wider distribution. Even there are many freshwater turtles and land tortoises. Diversity of lizard is remarkable. Even the flying lizards are also common to this region. We have chameleons here, but chameleons are chiefly African. Snakes are numerous. Among the poisonous snakes, great cobra and the king cobra, rustle vipers, frogs and toads are also abundant. Our oriental region is very rich in freshwater fish life also. The carps and catfishes. One particular fish, labyrinth fish, so named for the outpocketing of gill chambers, very intricate outpocketing that permits them to take oxygen from air as well as from water. There are spiny eels also here. Fish fauna also resemble the Ethiopian or African counterpart. But whereas oriental fish fauna is dominated by carps and catfishes, like Notopteridae, Anabanchidae, Syngnathus, Cypsisulursacs. These are some of the most common fish families. This is a very rich in diversity. There is the oriental reef which is in which we are also found. So with this we have completed all the 6 biogeographical reefs which has been proposed by Slater. But very recently WWF, the World Wide Fund for Nature, has introduced one more reef that is known as Oceanian reef or Oceania, it is popular. So that's why I thought that let us also discuss about this Oceanian reef in brief. Oceania is one of the world's major biogeographical reef as of now because it has 11 islands, especially in the Pacific Ocean. This group of islands are known as Polynesia, Micronesia and Hawaii. All together 11 bioregions comprising about 4,500 islands altogether. So that's why, though the land area of these bioregions are very small, but their exclusive economic zone, that is 200 nautical miles out from the coastline of each island. Here it needs some explanation, I think. Each independent country has some sovereign right over the ocean, surrounding it. How much? Up to 200 nautical miles from the coastline. So these islands may be small, but they are independent nations and they have their own exclusive economic zone up to 200 nautical miles out from the coastline of each island. As a result, it covers enormous area. And I have told you there are 4,500 almost islands. These islands contain an extremely wide range of ecosystems. Extremely wide range of ecosystems. From tropical rainforest and dry forest to mangroves and coastal wetlands. Having about 6,500 plant species, out of which 6,500, half of them are endemic or specially adapted to these islands. Even on land, there are more than 340 vertebrate species. The important thing is not the number but the percentage endemic. There are out of 340 vertebrate species, two-thirds of them are endemic. I have told you what are endemic. The animals with restricted range. Even I have told you the plants species which are 6,500, out of which half of them are endemic. Actually, it's a cluster of islands. Land area is less, but the exclusive economic zone in the ocean is vast. So that's why in terms of marine biodiversity, the Pacific Ocean is unparalleled with more species than any other ocean basin. For your information, 70% of global fish catch comes from the Pacific. But unfortunately, because of the overfishing, that has threatened many of the rare ecosystems of this reef. So as a result, you can see lot of marine protected areas in this reef. And this has certainly helped in restoring the marine biodiversity. So this Oceania is one of the seven or eight, even there is Antarctic also they make other thing which I have not included. Major ecological region of the planet. So this Oceania ecozone includes all these Micronesia, Fiji and all Polynesia except New Zealand, because New Zealand, New Guinea, they are all part of Australian zone. As I have told you, Oceania is the smallest in the area of land and very young geologically. It doesn't include any of the old continental land masses or fragments of countries, but they are all mostly fresh island groups arose from the sea as a result of volcanic activities. So the islands, I have told you there are more than 4,500 islands, range from tiny coral atolls to large mountainous islands like Hawaii and Fiji. Even the climate of this Oceania island is tropical or subtropical. Seasonally varies from humid to seasonally dry. Where all the wetter parts are there, the islands are covered by tropical and subtropical moist broadleaf forest. Moist broadleaf forest. While the drier parts of the islands are covered by tropical and subtropical dry broadleaf forest, and even the tropical and subtropical grasslands, savannas and shrublands. In Hawaii Island, high volcanoes. In this region, there are two areas, that is Mauna Kea and Mauna Loa, home to some rare tropical mountain grasslands and shrublands. Another very interesting thing, the islands of Oceania were never connected by land to a continent. So that's why the flora and fauna of the islands are either evolved there or originally reached from across the ocean. And once they reach the island, those flora and fauna adapted to life on island. The larger islands have more ecological niches and encourage floral and faunal adaptive radiation. Here you can see multiple species have evolved from a common ancestor. Just like you have studied in Caribbean, Galapagos Island. Multiple species evolved from a common ancestor, and each species adapted to different ecological niche. A very classical example is Hawaiian honey creepers. Hawaiian honey creepers are classical example. There are many type of adaptation: gigantism, dwarfism, and even among the birds, loss of flight. Even Oceania has number of endemic species, especially Hawaii. So that's why Hawaii Island is considered as the global center of endemism. Global center of endemism. With this forest ecoregion having one of the highest percentage of endemic plants in the world. So that's why it is known as global center for endemism. See, this being an island, groups of island, dispersal across the ocean is difficult for most of land animals. As a result, few indigenous land animals are there compared to any other ecozone. But there are certain animals which are ecologically important, like large land predators and grazing mammals, are entirely absent in the islands of Oceania until the human beings brought them in. Otherwise, they were not having any grazing mammals or large predators. Birds were relatively common, including many seabirds and some species of land birds. As I have told you, some of them developed into flightless species. Even geckos and skinks, whose ancestor probably arrived on floating rafts, vegetation, which might have been washed by the storms. So most of the animal species in Oceania are from the mainland. And many of them are introduced by the human beings, especially the first Malayo-Polynesian settlers. Even European settlers have also brought other animals. So what has happened is the introduced species and overhunting, deforestation have dramatically changed the ecology of many of the Oceania islands. So many species are on the verge of extinction or near extinction. Another very interesting thing, the absence of predator species. The birds have become named, losing the instinct to fly from predators. And mostly they lay their eggs on the ground. But now what has happened? There are many introduced predators now, like cats, dogs, mongoose, and rats. They can easily prey upon these organisms. All these things change because of the arrival of the human being in these islands. Even human beings have made the ecosystem to collapse. Many of the islands once lushly forested, now they have rendered to grasslands. So for the day, it's enough. Uh, and I may need 10-15 minutes to complete one more thing which is mentioned in your syllabus, that is about the valence line, and then we can move on to the next topic. So just I want to know whether you have understood what we have discussed.